Welcome back to the show. Check out the headlines we got for you today. It is David Schwartz reveals strategic moves and explains automated market makers in a way you probably have never heard it before. And top down, bottom up. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, it's $1.62 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off by 1.1%. Bitcoin, 39,800 plus. Ethereum, 2,200 plus. Tether market cap is 95.6 billion plus. We see XRP at the number 6 spot at 50 cents, off by 1% on the 24-hour, but off by 9.3 on the 7-day. Range of price very quickly, surprisingly, is actually trading very tight between 0.5068 on the bottom and 0.5189 on the top. We will keep an eye on it. I want to remind you right now, Link2 has Ripple available on the board. You're going to love it. If you want some, you should get some because it's not readily available all the time. And we know at some point this case could end for Ripple in this year, they're projecting. And if so, I would look for them to pick up that the notion of going public, as Brad Garlinghouse has mentioned. You know, this is the opportunity right now. You know, it's not financial advice, but I just want to say to people, whether you're in crypto or blockchain, and this crypto winter we've been in, we're coming out of this crypto winter sooner rather than later, I believe. And it's a moment like this where real wealth is made, not when you take gains. You have no gains to take if you're not accumulating in moments like this. My digital perspectives, not financial advice. Now, here's some incredible perspectives right here. And I want to shout out to Tony Edward, who had a great interview and conversation with David Schwartz here. Now, I played this yesterday, but I want to play this quick clip just to level set for anybody that missed this yesterday. And then we have another clip where we're going to hear from David talk about other strategies revealed that they're pursuing at Ripple. You're going to love it. Here we go.
What are you looking forward to this year?
Well, regulatory clarity or resolution to the lawsuit, obviously, would be. There is some reasonable chance that Ripple's lawsuit with the SEC will be resolved in 2024. Wow. Still could be appeals, I suppose. I mean, whether that would be resolved, I don't know. Big on sort of scaling at the blockchain layer. I think right now people can't really innovate right at the blockchain layer, and technologies like side chains and some of the zero knowledge proof stuff will enable people to innovate more sort of right at that lowest layer and enable more scalability. Just getting more people into the ecosystem, I think, is the biggest thing. Like, we have to create user experiences that are compelling to people. And I'm hoping that we can do that. On the XRP ledger side, I'm hoping the AMM amendment will eventually activate. Decentralized identity doesn't seem all that controversial. And seeing things like carbon markets and tokenized securities, I think one of the problems, particularly, so like in the United States and in most of Europe, like, we're overserved with financial products. Like, we have access to everything. Like, I can invest in anything I want right on my phone with an app. But there's a lot of people who don't have those opportunities, and they basically, their choice is to stuff cash in a mattress or not. Right. You know, and giving them access to tokenized securities and giving them access to things like collateralized lending. Obviously, they would be so that's the other interesting thing. So, like, when you think about collateralized lending or centralized lending, we often tend to think about, like, rich people having a tax efficient way to, like, access their crypto profits. That's not super, you know, that's not that's not the way I want to change the world. But if you think about it from the other side of the sort of low risk loan for a person who can get a return who might not have access to other financial products or services, like, that's really big.
And it is really big. Banking the unbanked, basically, right? Allowing them to plug into the world we live in now so they can begin to participate in buying assets themselves. He is absolutely right. It is a massive, massive thing, and it's coming in a big way. Now, Ripple CTO reveals strategic moves into a $10 trillion crypto custody market with Medico in HSBC. Let's go to this clip where he touches on a lot of that here. Great conversation. Go watch this whole interview with Tony Edwards and David Schwartz. Take a listen.
News of Ripple's acquisition of Medico last year and then partnering with HSBC. What can you tell us there? And is HSBC going to be using RippleNet or the XRP ledger in any way?
That has been, I mean, that was so exciting. You know, we knew we needed some sort of a custody solution. Ripple trying to be like a sort of one-stop shop for institutional adoption of crypto and trying to provide a platform that would provide access to the XRP ledger, to tokenization, to payments, particularly. Like there had to be a secure custody solution in there somewhere. And so we looked at many different companies, and then in May we acquired Medico. It was a huge acquisition, $250 million, Ripple's largest acquisition ever, and obviously it was a fantastic. It was kind of funny because when you first do an acquisition, you're not exactly sitting on the same side of the table as the company that you're acquiring, and everybody's afraid to say something that will blow up the deal.
Listen to this. This is amazing. He's giving you inside energy about what it's like to sit down and do an acquisition with another company. This is a very real element you're hearing here. This is amazing that he's sharing this like this. Nothing secretive. It's just this is the kind of level of tension when you're trying to acquire or merge with another entity.
Like if somebody has I had this crazy idea of something to do, like that's a terrible idea. Let's not acquire. Everybody's on pins and needles that they're not going to blow up the deal. And I remember our first meetings after the deal was closed when we were all sitting on the same side of the table. And I really have to say we found a bunch of kindred spirits. I mean, they've just been an amazing group of people to work with. The technology they've built is incredible. You know, custody is a massive market, something like $10 trillion by 2030. And, the increases in tokenization, mean that that's just going to grow. And institutions are going to be like the main drivers. So you need, some place to store it. If there's CBDCs, if there's stable coins, if those things become big as we think they will, people are going to need places to store them. They're going to need connections to on-ramps and off-ramps, payments, liquidity services. It's kind of all going to tie in. It's kind of like the same thing that banks learned. In the early days of Ripple, another thing I learned talking to banks is that a lot of banks don't care about payments. Seriously, like you might think, well, what do banks do? What they say is, we want you to deposit your money with us and sort of leave it here. And payments are expensive and they're slow and customers complain when we can't do them. Well, so we just won't be very good at payments. We'll be a great bank, but not very good at payments. And what they learned very quickly is that why would I keep my money at a bank that isn't good at payments? And what they discovered is that if I don't keep my money at a bank, I'm not going to go to the bank for a loan. It used to be if you needed a loan, you would go to your local bank that you had a personal relationship with. Virtually nobody does that anymore. Right? Like the world has changed. And I think the same thing happens with custody. Like if you want to get all these associated businesses, you're going to go to the place that has your cryptocurrency. Like you're going to look for their liquidity services, their payment services, their connectivity to on-ramps and off-ramps. That's going to be the first place that you're going to look. And so by adding custody, that's going to make Ripple the leading enterprise solution provider in the space. So, I'm just so super excited about that. HSBC, they plan to offer a custody service for digital assets to their clients. So it's kind of like a layering service.
And listen to what he says about the layering service. This makes so much sense about how it can come together much quicker for the financial industry when everyone else doesn't have to build out their own solution from zero to hero. Take a listen here.
Where HSBC is using some technology for custody, and that sort of makes them able to provide a sort of relay custody service to their clients. What's great about that is HSBC can do the sort of compliance part for them. So if I keep my money at a bank, I'm almost completely reliant on the bank's compliance to make sure that I don't fund terrorists or I don't receive money from, I don't have to have my own compliance department have a bank account, because my bank account is at an institution that has all those things. Now with cryptocurrencies, many people will self-custody and I'm just not worried about all that stuff. They don't have to have a compliance department because they don't have a regulatory burden. But if you're an institution that has a regulatory burden, it doesn't make sense for every institution that wants to hold cryptocurrency to have its own cryptocurrency compliance like department. That's obviously they're going to have something because they have to monitor, but to actually build out all of those services doesn't make sense. So layering is just like a very logical way to do that. And they're looking at things like digital asset insurance. They're looking at tokenized commodities like gold. So I think those are tokenized securities. HSBC is extremely interested in those types of projects. Their Orion project, which was a tokenized gold. So it's extremely exciting. It's strategically important to Ripple. And I think we're still in the process of processing exactly how the strategic, like Ripple had strategies that they were working on that required custody, but Medico has so much more than they have those things of layered services with compliance. They have this possibility for a tokenization platform and this integrating it with payments and liquidity. And I think we're still thinking through exactly, we know what Ripple brings to the table. We know what Medico brings to the table. Obviously, the two of them together is great. But then what's the extra? What's the synergy that you get? I think we're still in the process of figuring out how we can adjust Ripple's strategy and Medico's strategy to take advantage of what the other can provide.
Listen to this part right here.
It's going to be interesting to see. I wish I could talk about some of those ideas because they're great, but very little's finalized yet. So that's something. And again, we couldn't really do that until us and Medico were on the same side of the table.
That's right. You couldn't do it till the deal was done.
And we're totally willing to share the crazy ideas and the bad ideas as well as the good ones without having to worry about blowing up, a $250 million deal.
And that is what it's like, right? That is what it's like. And it's so exciting. Pursuing insurance for digital assets. Banks are looking into this. Tokenization of gold, tokenization for securities. This is the stuff I've been waiting to see and hear. This is the real reason I'm in this space, right? Yes, I will take some profits at $5 and 10 and 20 and all of that stuff too. But yeah, I'm here for seeing the things unfold in the traditional markets that will have the potential to allow XRP to run to 4 to 5 digits at some point in the future. And I've never been the kind of person who says it's going to happen next Tuesday or anything like that, but you guys know my conviction is here. And I want to talk to you about a top-down, bottom-up strategies that David has talked about before, but we'll get to that in a second. Very quickly here, I want to share this with you because CTO David Schwartz explains passive income potential with XRP and the onset of the approval of the XRP Ledger automated market maker vote that's happening right now. And there's a great thread too on my post or Ratha comment that you can follow where it actually takes that and breaks it apart here. But I'll just give you this. And he breaks down exactly like someone asked him, like, is it safe kind of thing? What is the risk of losing your XRP? David says, unless there's a bug or flaw in the automated market maker implementation, it is supposed to be impossible for a particular invariant to be broken. By the admittedly weird standard of that invariant, it is not supposed to be possible to lose. When you provide liquidity to an automated market maker depositing into its pools, you get liquidity tokens. These are known as LP tokens. They are specific to the automated market maker whose pools you contributed to. You can measure at any time the value of those tokens in this very strange way. The square root of how much of the first asset you get if you redeem your tokens times how much of the second asset you get if you redeem your tokens divided by the number of liquidity tokens you currently have. The automated market maker strategy is to only permit this value to increase, listen to that, regardless of prices of the underlying assets. This particular strategy was chosen because it should be able to turn volatility into an increase in actual value of the tokens over any period of time in which the ending value of the tokens is the same as the starting value. This does not, however, prevent a loss in actual value. For example, if today you get 1 XRP and $1 for your tokens, and tomorrow you get $1.05 XRP and $1.05 for your tokens, the automated market maker strategy worked. That constant went up from 1 to 105. However, if the price of XRP in dollars is lower, then your position lost value, though not as much as if you just held XRP, because you'd still be making fees, right? So the pluses, by this weird metric, it should be impossible to lose value. You can turn volatility into yield. You can get some yield by providing people who are willing to pay a spread to trade. You don't lose as much if the value of one of the underlying assets drops, because you sell all the way down and so hold less of the dropping asset at the bottom. The minuses, however, if the prices of the assets goes up, you don't make as much as you would if you held the underlying assets, because you sell all the way up. No particular yield is guaranteed. You can lose money if the price goes down, and while you'll make it back if they go back up, there's no guarantee that will happen. You have exposure to at least 2 assets, and even one if even if one is a stable asset like USD, there's counterparty risk. It's always possible some bug in the AMM implementation or XRP ledger issue causes something unexpected. Now, there was also down here, here's an unrealistic example to give you the general idea. He says, say some XRP is 50 cents, straight line drops to 40 cents, then climbs straight line back up to 50 cents. This is a worst case for that price movement because it's a minimum possible volatility. Let's assume 0.5% pool spread, and you put into the pool 2 XRP, 1 USD worth $2. On a straight line drop to 40 cents, your liquidity tokens should wind up being redeemable for about 89 cents, and $2.234 for XRP, that's only worth 179. On the bright side, if you just held $2 as XRP, it'd be down $1.60. Now, when XRP gets back to 50 cents in a straight line, our stating assumption, your liquidity tokens are redeemable for 99 cents, and the $2.0033 XRP worth $2.0007, so you made a gain of 0.35 BP, even though the final price of XRP is the same as the starting price. Realistically, if a digital asset has such a large drop in price, followed by such a large gain in price, there will be lots of smaller rises and falls inside that movement. The more of them that can be captured, the better their automated market maker does. Remember, the automated market maker is squashing out the slippage and arbitrage, right? For example, let's say instead of the 0.50, 0.44, 0.50 price movement, we imagine that the alternate's dropping by 2 and going back up by 1 to 40, and then alternates increasing by 2 and going back by 1 to get back to 50. In that case, we hit 50 cents, and the final result is that your liquidity tokens are redeemable for 1 and 2.005 XRP, a gain of 12.5 BP. Note that this assumes the automated market maker can capture the volatility, but doesn't assume anyone takes the pool's liquidity at cost. It just assumes arbitrageurs perfectly arbitrage. The trading anytime they can make a notional profit. If people are willing to pay the spread, of course, the pool would make a larger gain than if they're not. Again, this assumes that the prices of the assets come back. So there's more and more that this breaks down in here, and it's absolutely fantastic. But the big takeaway for all of us is you gotta be careful. You got to be careful. But let's talk very quickly about the top down, bottom up.
Switzerland and China all testing out the digital currencies. How are you gearing up for the disruption of money with central bank digital currencies? How will it change the way you and other banks operate in future?
Probably fundamentally. While we're not formally involved, no foreign banks are involved in the Chinese ECNY, I think we're as close to that as we can be to understand how that digital currency can be used for cross-border trade. Going back 5 years, we had digital currency underpinned trade finance and money settlement systems, and using as a medium of exchange, using things like Ripple's XRP, for example, as a...
Now that might be 6 years or more now. The CEO of Standard Chartered says that they underpinned with XRP 5 or 6 years ago now. David Schwartz talked about the top-down strategy and how they kind of, bit off a lot with the banks, and banks are slow to change. And then they started, well, maybe we should go with the grassroots up. What is better, bottom up or top down? I think what we're witnessing is both at the same time. And I think the log jam and the suppression is obviously the lack of clarity and regulation. People would argue, well, there's a lot of other networks that have builders flocking to the network. Just look at Ethereum. Well, you're absolutely right. And you know why there's a lot of builders on Ethereum? Because it got a fake free pass. And that perceived regulatory clarity and acceptance was an all clear, full steam ahead for every builder that wanted to build somewhere they perceived to be safe. And not too long from now, we're going to have the final piece of this puzzle finished in this case with the SEC versus Ripple. Maybe even this year, as David says. Maybe even this year. And imagine what it looks like once we have legal finality in this case, and then clear legislation for stablecoins in the United States of America to go along with joining the rest of the world like MiCA and the 27 countries in the EU. That's going to do it for me, ladies and gentlemen. This is getting very exciting. Top down, bottom up, guess what? Let's get regulatory clarity and legislative clarity, and we'll just all meet in the middle. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's time for us to go into the freedom zone, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you something. One of the best crypto predictions from the most unlikely source. And it's going to happen right now in the freedom zone. All you got to do is come on in and join us. We'll see you inside. We're getting started right now.